Bonjour mes amis. Welcome to another episode of Bible Q&A. Today we're discussing, are you spiritually engaged? Often, we look at people who attend church twice a week and go to all the meetings and we say, wow, that guy is really devoted to God. They are the ones who keep the organization running, while others merely attend on Sundays and give a couple of tithes now and then. However, is God really looking for that kind of engagement? Are these guys really spiritually engaged? Well, maybe. For example, if you attend church services all the time but you don't do what the pastor says, then the church attendance is meaningless. St. Paul said, "For not the hearers of the law are just before God, but the doers of the law shall be justified." Romans chapter 2 verse 13. A judge isn't given less time in jail than an ordinary citizen just because he knows the law better than the citizen does. Both have shown that they have not properly served their country. Plus, even if people do follow physical laws, Jesus showed us that they can do all that stuff without really caring about Christianity. He said, "Ye hypocrites, well did Isaiah prophesy of you, saying, This people draweth nigh unto me with their mouth, and honoureth me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. But in vain they do worship me, teaching for doctrines the commandments of men." Matthew chapter 15 verses 7 to 9. The Pharisees followed the laws of Moses to the letter, which is why Jesus told people to listen to them in Matthew chapter 23 verses 2 to 3, but they did it to preserve their own power, and not to help their subjects, a virtue which would have translated those laws from the letter to the spirit, according to 2 Corinthians chapter 3 verse 6. In reality, spiritual engagement is about engagement to a relationship with God. Just as an engagement ring is just a ring until you find a spouse to marry, engagement is just lip service without a desire to actually know God and get close to Him. For example, the Psalms frequently encourage people to sing praises to God. Psalms chapter 47 verse 7 says, "For God is the King of all the earth. Sing ye praises with understanding." However, anyone can sing a praise song, even unbelievers who have to for cultural or community reasons. Thus, what's more important is understanding the meaning of the words you're singing, and why you want to praise the Lord to begin with. St. Paul told his flock, "What is it then? I will pray with the Spirit, and I will pray with the understanding also. I will sing with the Spirit, and I will sing with the understanding also." 1 Corinthians chapter 14 verse 15. The Spirit makes you want to sing, and the understanding makes you know what it is you're even singing about. Also, Christians are encouraged to attend church services, but it's so they can learn from each other and grow stronger in the faith, not simply to put butts in seats. As the pastor's favorite verse reads, "And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more as ye see the day approaching." Hebrews chapter 10 verses 24 to 25. Christians are supposed to encourage their brethren to live more godly lives, and church services are a great way to do that. Thus, if church time is spent with people who aren't interested in growing their faith, then that church time doesn't really help. That's why Paul advised people to stay away from such Christians in church in 1 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 11. It's not about avoiding them whenever you see them in public. It's recognizing that getting closer to them in church services negates the point of such services in the first place. Thirdly, the Bible advises Christians to give tithes to spiritual leaders. Proverbs says, "The liberal soul shall be made fat, and he that watereth shall be watered also himself." Proverbs chapter 11 verse 25. However, that's because tithes serve as an exchange between a pastor and his flock. The pastor gives edifying messages that help the flock know more about the person they're engaged to, and the flock, inspired by those messages, pays him so that the need of money doesn't detract from his own relationship with God, as Agur noted in Proverbs chapter 30 verse 8. Thus, if the pastor no longer gives edifying messages, as advised by Peter in 1 Peter chapter 5 verses 2 to 3, then the tithes are pointless, because they merely serve to encourage him to continue misleading the people. As a result, God is reducing the tithes these pastors collect by driving their flocks away, according to Ezekiel chapter 34 verses 8 to 10, even though they are ostensibly collecting them for him. In addition, if the flock doesn't actually feel inspired by these messages, they shouldn't be required to give their pastors tithes. You can't force people to pay for something they don't find valuable. That's why it was only the Israelites who wanted to pay to build the Ark of the Covenant in Exodus chapter 35 verse 29 and the first temple in 1 Chronicles chapter 29 verse 9 who contributed to its construction. Thus, my advice is, if we're engaged in various church activities, we should be asking if we are engaged to God as well, or if we are merely engaged in the community. It is good to help out Christian brethren, but all that assistance should be driven by our love for God, or we are merely doing it for attention and clout. Otherwise, the only reward God will give us is said attention and clout, and others, who aren't as physically engaged, will receive much bigger rewards. That's why Jesus told his disciples, "But when thou doest alms, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth, that thine alms may be in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret himself shall reward thee openly." Matthew chapter 6 verses 3 to 4. And that is where I'm going to stop with this Bible Q&A. Are you spiritually engaged? A Christian is spiritually engaged if they are engrossed in improving their relationship with God, a practice that may gradually increase their involvement in the community as well. If you like this video, subscribe and share it with others. Goodbye.